Hey everyone, welcome back. It's me, the part-time economist, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a heat map using the R programming language. So before we get started, just a very brief review. A heat map is a type of data visualization tool that allows us to compare two categorical variables, so x-axis, y-axis, and then overlay a third numeric variable. So just as an example, maybe I want to compare college major, the letter grade the student received, and then their initial salary, right? What combination of GPA and major has the highest salary, right? In any case, let's go ahead and jump in. Now, we're going to be working with the tidyverse, so if you don't have it on your system, you're going to want to install the tidyverse using install.packages, tidyverse. If you already do have it installed, all you need to do is pull it into your workspace using the library command, so library tidyverse. Okay, perfect. So that's essentially all the packages that we're going to need. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're going to be working with the diamonds data set. Now, you probably have your own data to work with. That's totally fine. But for the purposes of the tutorial, it's helpful if everyone's using the same example. So head, diamonds. And what you'll notice is that this is a data set of like 50,000 diamonds, right? And it has the cut, the color, the clarity, the X, the Y dimensions, like some really cool stuff. But let's suppose that, I don't know, we're trying to come up with some kind of a rule of thumb. And we want to say, like, in general, what combination of color and cut has the highest average price, right? What we're doing, we are taking the categorical variable, and we are overlaying, like I said, that third numeric variable. So how are we going to do that? Well, this data set is 50,000 observations. We've got to make it a little bit more manageable. So I'm actually going to create a new data set. And again, you could call this new data, you could call it my data, doesn't matter the variable name. But we're going to pass in the original data set, diamonds. And what we're going to do from here is we are going to identify the two categorical variables that we think are the most important, that we think are the most relevant, the two categorical variables that we want to focus on, right? So for our example, it's going to be group by, and we're going to do cut and color, right? Now, again, keep in mind, these could be whatever you want, as long as they are categorical variables. And where am I getting these names from? These names are coming from the column headers, right? So instead of color and cut, if you had major and GPA, right? That's what you would use. Okay, so we're getting close. Now let's go with summarize. And we are going to do, how are we going to summarize this? This is where we are passing in the third variable, the numeric variable, right? And again, you can use any numeric variable in your data set that you're looking for, right? Maybe you want the X measurement, the Y measurement, right? Whatever. We want price. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a new variable. So avg underscore price. And this is just creating the variable name. Again, you can call it whatever you want, but now we need to say, how are we defining that variable? So for us, it's going to be the mean, price. Okay, now, where is that mean price coming from? Again, this is coming from the column header. So if you are doing salary, you would do average salary equals mean salary. Okay, let's go ahead and run that. What you're going to notice is that it gives us a new data set. And basically what it does is it says for each out of all these 50,000 diamonds, right? For the fair cut with color type D, the average price is $4,291, right? Okay. We're getting closer to where we want to be. So now what we need to do, we need to actually create, the chart. So we're going to go with ggplot. What is ggplot? That's just the plotting tool that we are using. We're going to tell it the data that we are working with, and this is going to be the new data. We're using the new data that we created. We are not using that original diamonds data frame. Okay. Now we need to go with AES. AES stands for aesthetics, and it basically tells our, what does this chart look like, right? So we need an x-axis. So we're going to go with x equals cut, y equals color. Now we also, because remember, I said that a heat map does 2 categorical variables and a third numeric variable. So we've got our categorical variables. Where are we putting the numeric variable? Well, the numeric variable goes into fill. So fill equals, and we're going to pass in the name of this variable that we created here, right? So average underscore price. So let's do that. AVG underscore PRICE. Now what's going to happen is not what we want, right? This is just creating the blank canvas for us. So you can see color, you can see cut, but we don't actually have the color coding. The reason we don't have the color coding is because we still need to pass in the geometry that we want to paint on top of this canvas. So for us, we're going to go with geom underscore tile, and boom, it's going to create the heat map for us. Now, obviously, this is not the most impressive heat map in the world. There's a couple things we probably want to change right off the bat. The first, we have no title, right? So let's go ahead and fix that. We're going to go with plus. We're going to go with labs. We're going to go with title, and we're going to do cut. Probably should capitalize. Cut versus, what did we do? Cut versus color. Okay. And that is going to give us our title. Now what we want to do, we probably want to change this color scheme, right? Because, I mean, it works, but it doesn't really pop. It doesn't really give us that pizzazz, right? So we're going to go with scale underscore fill underscore gradient. Now, scale underscore fill underscore gradient takes 2 different arguments. Well, it takes more than that. But for our purposes, we're going to pass in 2 arguments. We're going to go with the low value. Now, this is what we want the color coding for the low priced diamonds. Now, typically when I think of low, I think of cool colors, right? Like blue or green, black, something like that. So we're going to go with BLUE. Then we need to pass in the high value. So high is going to be, let's go with red, right? That would give us a nice contrast. So what that's going to do is it's going to change it. So the lowest price diamonds are going to be the ones in the blue, right? So you'll see the ideal diamonds are kind of the lowest price, right? Which I don't know a lot about diamonds, but when I hear the word ideal, like I think that is cream of the crop, right? That should be number 1. But apparently that's not necessarily the case, right? Because if we look here, the highest priced diamonds are the ones that have the premium cut and that are either the J or I colors. Now, obviously, like I said, this isn't a diagnostic analysis of the diamonds market, right? Because again, we are only looking at 2 variables here. It could be entirely possible that these diamonds with the ideal cut are significantly less weight than the diamonds with the premium cut, right? So maybe if we accounted for the weight of the diamond, that ideal category would really be the highest price, right? Again, that is something to keep in mind when you are doing heat maps. We are only looking at the influence of these 2 variables, right? So make sure that you're aware of that limitation. Okay, perfect. One common thing that we might want to do is center this title. So we can do that with the plus sign. We're going to go with theme, and we're going to go with plot.title equals element underscore text, and we're going to go with HJUST equals 0.5. What that's going to do, it's going to move it to the middle for us. Okay, so perfect. Oh, last thing I want to show you, really quickly, let's suppose that, see right here how some of these kind of blend together, right? It's hard to see the delineation between these. If I wanted to add lines, so I'm going to go with color, and we're going to go with black, right? Now you could pass in whatever color you want. I'm going to go with black. What that's going to do, it's going to make those lines for us so that we can clearly differentiate between these different categories. So obviously there's so much more we can do with heat maps. That is a basic beginner tutorial. I do hope you found it useful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.